Hello, good evening, everyone. How are you? Right on. Happy Valentine's Day to you. And welcome to the Lifetime Achievement to Mr. Sam Harpoon. Now, before we bring him up, I'm going to say a few words about the great Sam Harpoon. He was one of the last remaining maverick directors of the 1970s and 80s and a little bit of the 90s. Sam Harpoon has enjoyed a career spanning more than 247 feature films, television pilots, television pilot remakes, short subject films, long subject films, documentaries, and a science fiction film set inside an IBM Selectric typewriter, Ribbon Ball. American entry, 1973 Ostropol Film Festival. Launching onto the scene in 1967 with his acclaimed student film, Bile and Blood, which documented the turbulent campus protests at UC Berkeley, as well as the gastrointestinal problems which plagued some of the leaders as a result. Sam soon became one of the it directors in New Hollywood, alongside colleagues with names like Francis, Marty, Steve, Brian, Billy, Georgie, Roman, Francis, and many others. Sam was very much a part of this group, though he's often overlooked due to his absence of his entire filmography on home video. In a way, that feels almost deliberate, though it's fine with him because he'd rather his work go unseen than shown in an inferior format. As he famously quipped, they are called streaming services because that is what they are doing on the leg of cinema. Though he'd already made a splash with his first few projects, it was not until 1974's Rainbow that he became, in the words of one studio executive, I suppose the best director we're going to be able to get for this film. From nobody to best in just a few years is Sam's life in a nutshell. Rainbow, of course, went on to win much attention on the festival circuit, though mainly in countries where he was not allowed to attend in person. I'm going to read off a little bit of Sam's films here for you. Among Sam's most notable works, and you can applaud throughout or say at the end, Hurdy-Gurdy Summer, 1973. Butterscotch Moon, 1974. Again, 1974, Juju and the Caper Crew. Saddle Sore Sally, 1975. After the Blabberspalt, 1976. Along Came Irving, 1979. Chekhov's Gun, 1980. R.C. Cola Films presents Harry Stephen Keller's Finger, 1981. Then in 1983, of course, Green Grocer, sometimes referred to as Where Have You Been? Again in 1983, Lives of Kaplan Lancer. Pip and the Kickajou, 1983. Ear of the Needle, 1983. And of course, $1 Million Kugel, 1983. The Tickle Spot, 1984. Along Came Irving again, 1986. And then in 1987, A Man Called Zipper. And countless others now lost to time in the vulgarities of studio catalog gatekeepers / bean counters. He currently resides in Monterey County, California, where he enjoys teaching about the transconscious potential of cinema. Even though all of his students care about are superhero movies, God help us all. He and his wife and some members of his family, all of whom he has a wife and some other members of his family, all of whom would like to remain private at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for the great Sam Harpoon.
Before I begin, I'd like to read a short statement, a statement to the audience. 50 years ago, I embarked on a journey which changed my life and perhaps the life of cinema itself. 50 years ago, I embarked on a journey which changed my life and perhaps the life of cinema itself. It was a journey which followed a large, arcing path in the sky and covered the entire color spectrum. This path was, of course, called Rainbow. The behind-the-scenes story of Rainbow is a harrowing tale which I have always dreamed of one day bringing to the silver screen. Unfortunately, as many of you know, a certain young filmmaker has beaten me to the punch using my name and likeness for his own purposes in a recent film which I will not name, but which has for some reason been tacked on to this event as a kind of afterthought. Let me be clear. I am not bitter about this movie and this filmmaker appropriating the behind-the-scenes tale of my rainbow. In fact, I have come to accept it as a kind of tribute to me and my work. Thank you. Thank you. And the fact that the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences has looked at that hodgepodge of a screenplay and deemed it original, even though some of it was clearly taken directly from my unpublished journals, well, I suppose even that too is a sign of the impact my life has had on the entire film industry. So even though I have every right to be bitter or to bring a lawsuit against this artist and the many, many studios and financing entities he apparently needed to make his film, I will not do that. Because at the end of the day, this is not about me or him. It is about the art form we call cinema and the ways in which my work in particular have altered and challenged our notions of what that word even means. Thank you, American cinema, for bestowing this great honor on me, and thank you to this sold-out audience who I am sure will be so fulfilled and satisfied with this event that they will immediately leave the building. Just get up from your seats as soon as this event is over and leave the theater to go and live your lives forever changed by this experience. I repeat, there is no need to stay in the theater after my tribute is done. You do not need to watch the bonus follow-up event. So you're welcome, and namaste to all. Yes.
Sam, thank you so much for coming down.
You're welcome.
So in 1983...
I'm going to stop you right there because I know where you're going with this, and I'm not going to talk about Francis. No. We are friends, and friendship is sacred, and I am not going to trade on that friendship for the purpose of this. For them, for you, for this event, even for a lifetime achievement, American Cinematheque. No, because I respect the friendship. Friendship, what I have with Francis, is sacred. I know this, Francis knows this. And that's why if Francis were here, he wouldn't be talking about me. He wouldn't be discussing our friendship. I assure you, Francis would never talk about our friendship here. But, you ask about my influences, and I'll tell you, I am influenced by every film that's ever been made. Every film that's ever been made influences every other film. And you don't even have to be aware of it. It doesn't have to be conscious on any level because everything is connected. It's all in the Akashic, you know about that? And everything is together. And what's really amazing, and this will blow your mind, is it goes to the past and to the future. Right? It backwards and forth because of nonlinear. It's all nonlinear. So that means that even my earliest films were influenced not only by the great filmmakers who came before me, but also, theoretically, if there were great filmmakers today making films, I would be influenced by them as well. So I can't give you examples, but that is the idea. Now you were asking me about who the gods of cinema are. And I have to say, for my generation, you're looking at, of course, Hawks and Ford and Hitchcock and Norman Tokar and Godard. Godard blew the lid off of cinema for my entire generation because Godard was the one who showed us whatever you do, that's a movie. And it changed everything. And for me, number one, at the very top, you have Ozu. Because Ozu did what Ozu did what no one else had done. Ozu made Ozu films. And what that means is Ozu films were very truthful. They were straightforward. Ozu was a straightforward filmmaker. All of his films were, if you were to look at within the frame, everything you see is in a direct line to the camera lens. Everything. And you can measure this. It's mathematical, right? You can use instruments. They can prove this. Okay. It's genius. Everything. And I don't just mean in composition and, it could be messy, it could be around the corner, on the side, whatever is within the frame.
Right.
It's in a direct line to what the camera sees. You understand what I'm saying about Ozu. That's why, for me, Ozu is at the very top. And then above that, you have Kurosawa.
Right.
And Kurosawa, I saw Kurosawa before anyone. I mean,
wow.
his films. His films, I'm talking. Before anyone. And a lot of people like to claim that they saw Kurosawa first, his films. Like Rafelson will tell you, Bob Rafelson will tell you that he knew Kurosawa's films before anyone because he was living in Japan and he was working for the film company there and having them translated. So technically he saw them first, but really that's doing a great disservice. It's an insult to Kurosawa. I saw that. I didn't need translations. Cinema is an international language, right? It's universal. So you don't need subtitles or dubbing to know the power of Kurosawa, the power of a film. Because, and I think Steve has shown this, right, with his film, that you don't need, as far as translations. Steve, I'm not talking about Blauner.
Okay.
I'm talking about Spielberg.
Okay.
Steve Spielberg.
Right.
What Stevie shows is that with what he did, he showed you that you don't need to know what people are talking about, what's going on, why you're here, what this is.
Right.
All you need to know is this is a man, he lives in an airport terminal, and that's it. And then that's the movie. So I don't know why Bob is always saying that he saw Kurosawa. I don't know if it's desperation or insecurity or what, because I saw them first, not Bob. That was me.
Now,
yes, of course, right. You were asking about Chopped Liver, this film that we're going to show, this 16 millimeter. They just found, the American Cinema found this print of my film, So
what if it is Chopped Liver?
So what if I really am Chopped Liver is definitely the title of that film. And I think all you need to know, all I need to tell you about this is it is based on the writings of Max Schulman. I'm contractually obligated to say that per the terms of the settlement. And I think beyond that, I don't really want to say too much because you're going to see it, and I think you're going to be amazed. And I don't believe in talking about a film before it's seen.
Right.
I don't even think you should talk about a film after it's seen. The only time it's appropriate to talk about a film is during the film, because then it's happening. You're in it. Right? You're in it, so it's all there. So I think it's Dick Benjamin in the lead. I'll tell you who is in it. It's Dick Benjamin in the lead. We had him for 2.5 days. It was a big challenge. There are little tricks you can do. I'm not even going to reveal them. When you need to cover for an actor who's only there as the lead, you just have them for, sampling of hours.
Right.
So it's Dick Benjamin. We have, who else is in this?
Kim Darby.
Kim Darby, thank you very much. We have, who else is in this? You seem to know this film.
Stephen Burkoff.
Stephen Burkoff, Gary Berghoff, Gary Owens, Owen Marshall, the guy who played Owen Marshall. We have Arthur Hill. We got Arthur Hiller. We have Wendy Hiller. Phyllis Diller and Barry Diller came down to the set just for a few days. Oh, wow. He wasn't in the film. He just stood around and made everyone nervous. That was Barry. That was Barry, if you know Barry. So, and what else? Oh, and Eagle Eyes will notice there's an uncredited Ed Begley Jr. who shows up, and he plays one of the boiled potatoes. Wow. Which I think is going to amaze you if you can spot him.
Really?
So, right. And you were saying about this film, about this film, about how they were able to find this film. Some of it was salvageable, right?
Right.
Yeah. So there's some slight issues with it, but you were able to save maybe, I think you said several feet of this film. Definitely. Survived, and I think that's what we're going to see. And beyond that, don't worry, because a great film has a holographic quality. So even a tiny bit of that film will reflect the entirety. A single cell, a single frame of a great work tells you the whole story. So I really think even just a couple of seconds, you're going to get the whole thing. Believe me, you're not going to need more than a few seconds to know the entirety of this.
Shall we start it?
Yeah, so Grant.
I'm Grant.
In the booth.
I'm Grant.
Grant.
It's Ben.
So
Ben
Dennis,
is in Ben.
Ben. Dennis. Ben.
Hey, Ben, would you like to start the film?
You can start it.
He's going to start it, Sam.
All right. All right. Here it is. No trouble. Oh, there's Herb Edelman. Herb Edelman is in this movie. I remember this. This was in Lompoc. There were chickens. I remember a lot of chickens. My God. Look at that color. It's so bright. It's so crisp. Yes. Oh, yes. It's still got it. I tell you, what you just saw was, believe me, as good as anything I ever made. So thank you, American Cinema, for this honor. You don't have to stay. You can all leave now. You don't have to stay for the next show. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, the great director, Mr. Sam Harpoon.